Alrighty guys, welcome back. This is part 4. And what we're going to do in this one is we're going to actually go ahead and use MotionBuilder Story editor, non-linear editor to sorry about that guys. I'm still fighting the remnants of a cold that I had last week, and yeah, these coughs are killing me. That's the worst part, the lingering cough. But we're going to go ahead and use MotionBuilder's non-linear story to go ahead and apply BVH animations and quickly pre-visualize our character. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and deselect everything. We're going to go ahead and double click on our T-pose, and lo and behold, it does not work. So that's good. We've verified that we need to actually have all the joints selected. So if you double click in here with one joint selected, it should select all the joints, or if you just single click with no joint selected, it should select all the joints. And then if you apply the T-pose, that'll go ahead and apply the T-pose to everything. And that'll bring our character back to normal position, normal T-pose position, just as we left her. So what we want to do now is we want to go ahead and apply BVH to our character. Now how do we do that? Well, we can go ahead and merge an FBX in, and we can go to our in this particular case, in Windows 7, I actually have a library set up for my software, which points to like all the software that I've ever downloaded in like the past 13 or so years that I've been using a computer. And within our software folder, which is my downloads folder on my F drive, I've got a graphics and multimedia, a graphics asset folder, 3D folder, 3D modeling folder in there, motion capture folder in there, and a body capture folder in here. And we created this 17 FBX, which had just different walking styles. We also, of course, named all our stuff so that it would be easy for us to be able to get at it. This would be a really good way to add motion to the character if we wanted to just add a specific character to the motion. We didn't want to deal with story. I'm going to go ahead and merge this character in. And as you can see, the BVH file is pretty small. Doesn't even match the scale of our character, but if we were to go ahead and just change Testa's character source to be this character's control rig, then if we slide through our animation, oh my god, look at that. Look at, oh my god. We are able to drive Testa's control rig with any control rig from any other character that we import into MotionBuilder. That's ridiculous. Now we have to bear in mind that, especially with these Carnegie Mellon, it seems like the character, it seems like whoever they filmed, you know, I mean, their skin is, I mean, their bodies are like really tight. I've noticed with the Genesis figures, you'll often see with these motions, you'll see a lot of co-penetration. And this is going to be a serious problem when we get into our Clo 3D workflow, because co-penetration is a big enemy of cloth simulations. But as I said before, in MotionBuilder we can fix this very easily. We can add animation layers, and we can tweak out and nuance any part of our animation. But these Carnegie Mellon files just, I mean, they are cleaned up pretty nicely, and they give us a very, 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 very beautiful base. If we need a fight scene, you know, and this character is more of a boxer type of character. If you're creating like your own 3D anime where you need your character to, and see there's some of that code penetration. We can fix that really easily in using our animation layer tools. Yeah, if you had like a boxer character, I mean, this motion with a little bit of edits to fit your scene, of course. I mean, you're already halfway there. You're 75% of the way there. You only need to do the extra 25%. It's amazing. And then we can, of course, switch our control rig. We can switch back to our own control rig for our character. Cancel. We don't want to do that. We want to change her source back to, yeah, back to her control rig. Let's real quick. Test a character. Did Testa lose her control rig? I think she did. No. Yeah, she did. Yeah. And I think it's mostly because that character happens to have the same control rig that she has. So if we click on her character, if we click on her character object itself, let's go ahead and create her a control rig again. And that'll give her a new control rig. And what we'll do this time, I also like to, of course, rename my control rigs. We'll call this Testa rig, so that her control rig has its own name. And okay, that's great. That's great and all. It's pretty awesome. She can be controlled, of course, by the character. And if we want her animation to be applied to her control rig so that we can bake that animation down to her skeleton, we can do that too. We could take the character and we could do a bake plot, and we can plot to the control rig and take the control rig. Just as we plotted this character's takes initially in chapter 2 of this tutorial, we plotted this character's skeleton takes to its control rig. We can do the exact reverse, and that's how we get our animation back into Cinema 4D. We plot back to the skeleton once we're completely finished with all of our animation. All right. So while we can do that with Testa, and that's cool, this only provides us enough power to be able to to plot just one take at a time, or possibly all the takes at once. But what if we want to create a more interesting animation? What if we want her to walk and then start boxing? Well, MotionBuilder has a tool for that. If we click out of the navigator and over here to Story, we have MotionBuilder's nonlinear story animation tool. What we can do is we can right click in this empty space here, and we can insert a character animation track. We can tell it that we want the character we want to control with this animation track is Testa. And this is where naming conventions come in. We named her Testa character, so we know that that's the correct character that we want to animate. And as you can see, we get another timeline down here that mirrors our main timeline up here. Up at the top here, what we can do is we could actually create a new take that we can use to actually write all this information from story. Story and it's kind of a double-edged sword. When story is driving your animations, story is the only thing that can drive your animations. You can't use animation layers. At least I haven't figured out how to yet. You can't use animation layers. You can't edit your animation. Your animation is pretty much being driven by story, and you can't really do much of anything to it in here other than use story's tools to kind of sort of manipulate it. It's great though, because what you can do is you can write your story animation back to a take. And this is the reason why we selected take 001, because take 001 is clean. We write back this story to a clean take, and then we can use all of MotionBuilder's motion layer tools and things like that to actually clean up the animation and make it tighter. Alright, so with story selected, what we can do is we can right click in our character track here, just in the general nonlinear area, and we can actually insert an animation file. And what's so amazing about this is we can insert any of our animation files, and because we set them up specifically to have control rigs and characters, they're immediately set up and ready to just work right out the box with this system. It's just like importing this character, but now we have so much more control. If we import in our different walking styles sequence, you'll notice what'll happen is we'll get the same result we got before, except now story is controlling this. We get the ability to do so many more interesting things. This is like Premiere, but with 3D motion capture. It's awesome. We have a clip that's 695 frames here of her boxing. If we want her to continue the box after the fact, we can actually drag the clip and extend it. And what's great about this is MotionBuilder not only is looping the clip for us, not only were we just easily able to loop the clip, but MotionBuilder kept the translation and the rotation of this clip. That is, she did not jump back to wherever her T-pose, wherever the animation started, her T-pose spot. She's in the same location, and she's smoothly just redoing her animation again. If we zoom out using our Alt right click, we have the same controls that we have in the viewport, and our Alt middle mouse button click, we can go ahead and pan around. Yeah, she hasn't lost her translation. Incredible. Not only can we do that, but we also have the ability to click on the clip, right click, and we can change the take of this clip. This clip has 10 takes. So we can change the take, and we immediately change what animation we're using. Incredible. And if I Alt right click and move out, this one is a particularly long clip, but I can loop it. And I can cut it. It's completely non-linear. Not only that, but I've got a whole library of these. And this is what I'm saying. as you start to, use these, just, save them out as FBXs. Use the same procedure that we did in chapter 2, and just, save out these various different actor takes, because you can start to build up a library. She's walking right now. Maybe she just needs to break out into a run. So let's go ahead and import that in. And now she's breaking out into a run. But we have an issue. And the issue is, even though she's broken out into this run, this clip has a different starting area than this clip does. But not to worry. Story has tools that allow us to even manipulate that. Not only is this clip immediately going into a run, but not only is it immediately going into a run in a different position, but it's also immediately going into a run without any transition. So we can actually drag clips right on top of each other and create a transition zone where she'll transition from one animation to another. So that already takes care of, the animation kind of sort of starting out a little jittery. We give her time to transition from her walk into her run. But she still starts at the same position on the run. What we can do is we can use these match tools in MotionBuilder. We can go to match options, and with this clip selected, we could match its translation and its rotation to the previous clip, and we could match them to the end of the previous clip. That means where her bones were translated and rotated at, where her whole entire position of her body was at, will match the previous clip. If we click OK, she's gonna run directly from where she was at instead of translating. And if we go ahead and just play around with this, the duration of this translation, we've already kind of got a pretty decent running animation, walk to run. Now, of course, it requires a lot of cleanup. We obviously need to. She still translates a little bit in relation to, the area. We can control, how she translates by actually, matching her animation to a specific controller. For instance, maybe we wanna match this leg so that, or perhaps even maybe we want to match this foot so that this foot matches where this foot is. These 2 feet match so that we can be sure that she starts off where she needs to start. So we can select this clip here, and we could do a match, and we can say we want the right foots to be the matchup objects. And we want to match the translation and the rotation. We want to match at the end of the previous clip. That's this clip here. And we want to match the previous clip. And we want to click OK. And let's see if that fixed things. Well, what's interesting is the animation definitely matched up for the foot, even if it didn't necessarily match up for the rest of the body. So, but you get the idea. We can do some really interesting things here. So this is great. We can have a character run, and then if we have a diving animation in our Word document, we can bring in that diving animation. We can go from a run to a dive. And then we can come back in Cinema 4D, and we can create some window dynamics, and we can have a window explode as the character dives through the window. And we can create some really interesting action. Alright, so what else? We can go to our properties here for our specific clips, and we can control, even easier here, in our properties we can control our takes. And as you can see with this particular animation, I didn't name these, so it's making it very difficult for me to figure out, what's what. So like I said, I really recommend you name your clips, your takes, because it'll make it very easy for you in here to be able to actually, pick the take that you want. If we go back to this take, we come in here and we've got what we need. We know this is a heavyset person's walk that we want, or a walk with frustration. We know what these takes are. We can come in here and we can quickly animate them. We can set in points and out points for these takes. So for instance, with this particular take, maybe I don't like the fact that it takes forever for my animation to really get where I need it to go. Maybe I need to just move the mark in a little bit further into the animation, so maybe 12 frames in instead, and that'll change where the animation starts and ends. And actually, let's bring it in here and see. No, so it's not the mark in and out that we need to change. It's we go to our endpoint here. It might. But yeah, as we play around with these different parameters, we can actually control specifically where the clip starts and ends. We can also play with the arrows here. If I go ahead and actually do a alt right click, I keep trying to actually do a middle mouse wheel scroll. But unlike with cinema, I can't do a middle mouse scroll wheel here and actually zoom in on my timeline. Even though there's probably a preference that'll allow me to do that, but yeah, I can move these arrows around, and I can control where in points, out points, and different things of that nature are. So in this particular case, I'm controlling more of the gradual in. It's more like a fade that I'm controlling here. I can also control the clips rotations where it aligns and different things like that. So ultimately you want to get this down to a clip though. So we're going to go ahead and drag this over, and we're just going to do an extended run where she kind of sort of just runs off the screen a little bit. We're going to go ahead and bake this down to a take. So in order to bake this down to a take, what we need to do, and we'll alt right click to zoom out on this. And we'll right click on our character, and we'll plot the scene to the current take. And plot on frame, and everything is fine here, and we'll go ahead and plot. And now what we've done is we've baked down the animation to fit, or we've baked down the animation onto our take system. Alright, so with that done, with our animation plotted, if we turn off story, and we go ahead and move through our timeline, we can see that now in our regular system, we've actually got the character plotted down, and she's moving around. If we go ahead and double click on this final keyframe here and go ahead and put this at 750, which I believe is the duration of our clip as a whole with all the animations. It looks like some of our story didn't make it. And this may or may not have been because we didn't actually have enough space to actually completely place the whole entire take on there. So we'll plot the current scene to the take again, and we'll go ahead and try to plot this one more time. And we'll go ahead and see how this looks. And there we go. Alright, so you got to make sure your timeline is completely filled out. You know, in order for you to actually get your whole animation in there. Alright. So with that in mind, we can do so much more in MotionBuilder. There's stuff that I haven't even touched yet. For instance, setting up cameras. We can set up cameras in here, create shot cams, do multicam breakdown, and I'll probably go into more tutorials, more depth, into more pre-visualization as I play a little bit more with MotionBuilder. I've mostly used it mainly for just getting a motion done in a pre-visualized scene, and then I usually use Cinema 4D for creating the cameras and the lights, doing all that. But MotionBuilder also has a render engine apparently, and you can quickly render out, you know, a low-res render of your scene for a client, whatnot, right here from in MotionBuilder. You know, just to get an idea of your timing, get an idea of what your what everything looks like. And that's pretty incredible. The great thing about it not being in story now, though, about the animation not being in story anymore. If we click off, see that I turned off story, so now we're on regular animation mode. Is now I can actually come in here and I can start to edit different areas of my animation. I can come in, for instance, and let's see if I can find an area that I don't like. You know, actually this I've used this run animation before, and one of the things I don't like about the run animation is I don't know if the actual person who performed this motion capture had his head all the way up in the air like that, just looking at the sky or whatever as he's running, but it doesn't look very realistic to me, or it just looks like the motion capture is broken. So we can come in here with an animation layer, and we can set a 0 key on say the head, actually, with body parts mode set. And then if we come through, we can actually rotate the head down and tilt it to the side, and we can set a key. And what's great about the MotionBuilder system is we can select these body parts, and if we're in body part mode, we can set keys to specific body parts without setting keys to everything, and it really creates a really clean animation flow. When we go into MotionBuilder F curves, then we can actually see, you know, a really clean hierarchy of keys on these relative layers. And this animation layer that we have here, by default, that MotionBuilder creates as a relative layer. So we can lay this animation on top of the animation that we already have in our base layer, which is just, it's going to be ugly. It's just too many keys. It's going to be every frame has a key, but here, you know, we have a situation where we've only got this one key, and this one key relative to the animation underneath, this one key is all we needed to correct the head motion. Amazing stuff. And then we could we can have her turn her head to look at us, and we can key that, and it's just keying just the head again. You know, she turns to look at us, and then she immediately turns away. And we can key again. And we can just very quickly just generate the animations we need. We can come through here, and you know, on any animation where we're doing clothing, and we just need to just, you know, tighten up, you know, tighten it up, get rid of some of this co-penetration here a little bit, so that the clothes interact really nicely. You can just set keys, and I'm only setting a key on the elbow, but because of the beautiful IK system here in MotionBuilder, I don't have to worry about it. It just sets the keys perfectly on like the whole entire hierarchy as needed. Alright, so let's hit Control S, and we're going to go ahead and save our animation out here. And in the next chapter, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and export this out into Cinema 4D and see how we can use Cinema 4D's motion system and Cinema 4D's nonlinear tools to go ahead and create a library there that we can reuse, so that we can skip this pre-visualization process, or so that we can quickly create assets for rebuilding our visualizations. All right, see you guys there.